For our A2 Media Studies course that we're to create a short film and to support products to help promote it. And when doing the film, you have to plan what's going to happen. You have to consider all the codes and conventions that surround what you expect to see in a short film. So you need to make sure it's what the audience basically want to see, or that they should be seeing. But in class and in spare time, we have watched a few short films, just general short films, and then in my own time I've looked up short films specific to my sort of genre. Those specific conventions will be discussed in a video blog, but this is just a general short film codes and conventions. So in class we've watched a few short films, as I said, and there are many genres we've watched. There have been sport type films, sort of romantic short films, some horror films, so really you can do any genre of a short film. That's what I'm trying to say. So you don't have to it doesn't have to be a certain genre. You can do almost any genre can fit into a short film style. But some genres may make it more complex than others, because of course if you were to say do a mystery genre, you would only have a few minutes to try and get the story across, which is harder than say doing a short, horror short film, because that is just, you can easily identify that as obviously a horror film. One of the simple ones we watched instantly was 3x3, which is a basketball film that we watched in class, and there are other complex ones too. Probably the most complex one we watched was one off the Pasta Media channel called The Shopper, I think it's called, and that's more complex because it was much longer, and it still worked, but it's just more complex than the others we watched. So they're very different sorts of short films. In the 3x3 basketball film, there were only 2 characters, so that's obviously the convention of a short film. There should be less characters, because you've only got 5 minutes to try and establish the characters and sort of let the audience know who they are. You can't have 10 characters in 5 minutes, because it's just too much to fit in, and you need to focus more on the storyline and the actual characters involved. So around 2 to 3 characters is normally what you see in a short film. But on the other hand, the Shop film, there were a lot more characters there. I think, if counting, there was at least 5 characters, but again it was a longer film, so there was more time to get the audience to know who they were. Of course, if you've only got a 5-minute film, lots of characters is just going to confuse people. They'll forget who they are, and that's probably why you should stick to about 2 characters. As well, in short films you should only have a couple of locations. This is because if you've got tons of places, scenes in the film, you just can't follow it, and you're wondering where each place is. But if you're just sticking to 1 or 2 locations, you can easily follow and track what's happening. And the 3x3 film we saw, it was just 1 location, and that worked because it was obvious that it was just people playing basketball in the basketball sports hall kind of thing. But with The Shopper, there were a lot of locations. They went outside, there was a few inside locations too, and it did still work, but generally you don't expect a couple of locations. Typically a short film should only be 5 to 10 minutes, because if you go over that, it's not really a short film, is it? When you go into the cinema and watch short films before the actual film, they're only a few minutes long. You wouldn't really want to see a half-an-hour film that would be described as a short film. You class that more as a general, just you can even class it as a proper film, I suppose, if you're getting over 10 minutes. yeah, I think the majority of the ones we watched in class were under 4 minutes. Around 4 minutes, but the short film we watched was, I think it was 8 minutes, but that's between 5 and 10, so it's still classed as a short film. I suppose you needed it with that film because there was so much going on. You had to have that long to, as I said earlier, to try and work out what was happening. So I think that was good to have it that long. Often in a short film you expect a twist because it's the only real way you can have sort of a short film work, because you wouldn't just want plain ordinary action and stuff going on. You want an actual twist in the film that makes you want to watch it. And in the 3x3 film, we saw the guy, like, you expect him to, like, the man expected him to be really, really bad at basketball, and he just did a really, really good shot. And in this shot, the twist was the girl thought her granddad was a really bad person, but then she discovered the complete opposite, and they had helped lots of people. Often with short films you only have limited dialogue, you don't see a lot of speech going on. This is because it's often put across with imagery instead, so you can, what they say, you can normally, there's no point in putting that speech in, because you can often see that in different ways through images and stuff that's going on. And in 3x3 there was no speech at all. This is because there was no need for it. You could see clearly what was happening, whereas with the shot film you needed speech to actually work out why they were going to certain locations and why they were worried about the situation and stuff. That's why it works. You only really need dialogue and speech if you cannot put the point across otherwise. There's also a narrative structure called the classic realist narrative. This basically means that there's the equilibrium, disequilibrium, and then the new equilibrium. So there's a normal sort of dialogue going on, then it loses its sort of format, and then it recreates the format in a new sort of style. Obviously this wouldn't be used in films that have no speech, but I was talking about the shot for earlier, which is a lot of speech, and it was you needed speech there to get the point across, and this structure was there too, and it just helped it flow more and show that there was a twist in the film by using this sort of structure of speech. You started off with a lot of talking, then in the middle of it sort of lost its way. There was less narration going on, it was more imagery, but then it came back in a sort of new form, new context, and that is one of the other codes and conventions that you expect in a short film. And then finally, there's a low budget when doing short films. This helps really because, of course, with a longer film we're going to have more props, probably more camera equipment, but with this short film you only have 5 minutes of footage to film, and that's not going to take a lot of budget, so it really helps when filming a short film too. And just to finish it off, you can break these rules, you don't have to stick, because my own film, this will be discussed in the future vlog, my own film does contain more than 3 characters. There are only 2 locations, that's sticking to rules, but it has more than 3 characters, and this is because it has to be done to make it work. I'm not doing it just so I can chuck more characters in, I have to do it because of the idea I've chosen, and it's going to stick to like 5 minutes, but although there will be a lot of speech, because it's a sort of taking on like a documentary style film, which I'll be doing, requires speech, and that are a few rules I've broken. So this blog just told you about my general thoughts and codes and conventions on short films, and that they're the main points that you need to consider when making a short film.